The debate that I watched live, Clay watched it live, and has just, it's really hard to shock the political world these days, considering we have a president who gets confused and lost on stage. And, there have been plenty of things that we've seen in recent years that have expanded our sense, Clay, of what is possible. But or permissible for either side. The Fetterman-Oz debate last night was among the most bizarre, uncomfortable, and in many ways outrageous high-level political spectacles we've seen in this country in electoral politics in our lifetime. I was thinking that this was going to be a moment where you might see some blue checks say, remember we talked about this yesterday, see, he showed everybody. And by the way, we're going to play the audio because everyone now on the left, all the libs, are doing let's just write descriptions of this. Let's just talk about the issues. No. You need to hear, and you will hear on this show, key moments from Fetterman. Clay, it was a combination of galling that they would put this guy forward given his condition and deeply uncomfortable because he's clearly not there.
It was the single worst debate performance I've ever seen in my life paying attention to politics on either Democrat, Republican, independent side. And what I think is so important to recognize here is, Buck, you and I talked about yesterday, we were setting a low bar for Fetterman. He was nowhere near that low bar. And we're going to play some of these audio clips for you in a moment. But before we do, just a couple of things that everybody needs to be thinking about. First of all, if you have any friends or family in Pennsylvania, you need to make sure they watch some of these clips and go vote for Dr. Oz, because this very well may decide, Pennsylvanians may decide, who controls the Senate. And if Fetterman is elected, it is one of the biggest failures in American political history. And I find it shocking that he could be, but I think this is important. He had this stroke, Buck, on the Friday before the Tuesday Democrat primary. They all hit it. His family did. His advisors did. He nearly died. They didn't let Democrats voting in the primary know that. He won the nomination. They then hid him for months. They prepped him for this debate. They allowed many people to go ahead and start early voting. I think you've been able to early vote now for 2 weeks in Pennsylvania, trying to get as many votes banked as they could before he trotted out there. And this is, if you want to talk about threats to democracy, this may be the most dastardly act that I have seen either political party try in my lifetime to try and get this guy elected when he clearly is not up to the job. And I just want, don't allow yourself to be influenced by the coverage. Just listen. You can go online and look at these clips. These are that we're going to play for you here from the Fetterman-Oz debate are representative samples of how this went. And let's start, Buck, with the very first one where Fetterman comes out and tries to introduce himself and immediately says, "Good night, everybody. Listen."
You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody. I'm running to serve Pennsylvania. He's running to use Pennsylvania.
Okay. That, I also would note, wasn't just a misspeak because, I remember I was guest hosting for Rush, Clay, many years ago, and I started out, I said, happy New Year's Eve, and it was Christmas Eve. I can't remember. I messed up the date, but I caught it right away. He said, "Hi, good night, everybody," and kept going as though the programming wasn't up to speed, as though he needed a software update. And there were so many places in this debate where he started to just verbally fall apart. It also felt like at some points the moderators were kind of breaking in a little bit when it was clear the train was going off the tracks. So like, whoa, hold on, we're going to bring this, which is really not their job, right? They're not supposed to step in and have a Saved by the Bell situation. But the first thing he says is that, and then to give you a sense of, there's so many to pick from. Here is Fetterman when he's talking about vocational schools. Just listen to, this is the guy who could be the deciding vote in the United States Senate. Play clip 4.
I think it's just the same the way university 4 degrees as well too. Supporting that and partnering with the unions and making sure that vocation training are is affordable and providing the resources to make sure everyone has the opportunity. Going to college isn't the right choice for every person, but going to those kind of vocational schools, able to create a career to Wayne. Reach a lot of high salary, and again, supporting to reduce those costs are critical too.
I mean, he actually does speak at some points in gibberish, true gibberish, like somebody who has a really high fever and cannot speak. I mean, that can happen to people medically. That is what it sounds like.
Fracking matters a lot in Pennsylvania too, and I just want to make it clear: these are not randomly chosen things to make him look bad. These are representative samples, and there are many of them, of his mental deficiencies and ability to communicate. Here he is explaining why he now supports fracking, despite the fact that he previously said that he was completely opposed to fracking.
You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking. And I support fracking, and I do support fracking.
Right.
I mean, this is a United States Senate candidate. And then, Buck, we've also got him talking about college debt forgiveness, where, again, the man cannot speak. Listen.
It's about supporting and helping, young earners, young students to give them a break.
This is a job, Clay, where communication is a huge part of the actual job description. Right. This is like, if you cannot process and speak with fluidity, this would be like if you're going to be a marathon runner, but you're turning around to everybody saying, well, I have a broken leg, but I'm going to be running in the marathon. Well, having a broken leg is a sad thing, and you should get healthy. You shouldn't be running in the marathon. And that's what this guy is doing. And the people who put him forward, this is a new low of Democrat cynicism. I don't know. This is in some ways. Now, you could argue that Biden's actually worse because he's the president and it's a much more prominent, more powerful role. But this could be the balance of power in the United States Senate. And I think this is the most brazenly dishonest, cynical, ugly thing Democrats have done in electoral politics. Okay, put aside Russia collusion and trying to destroy the entire Trump family. That's probably the next one. But this really almost reminds me of Kavanaugh. And then I'm watching this, I'm going, what is wrong with you people, with you Democrats? How could you think this is okay?
And remember, Buck, it's not even just the Democrats, and Giselle Fetterman last week was demanding that NBC News' reporter apologize for saying her husband had difficulty in conversation. And then several other blue check journos followed up and said, maybe she's just bad at conversation because he was great with me. Like some people with millions of followers who interacted with John Fetterman and said, oh, he's fine. This is a monstrous, massive cover-up that they were trying to run. And frankly, Buck, I'm stunned that they didn't just refuse to debate and try and run out the clock here, because this was such an awful performance. We were talking about this off air. I feel like they expected Fetterman to be bad. I feel like he was way worse than they even anticipated he was going to be. I don't know if when he stumbled out of the gates and was so bad that it was like a sporting event where you get behind early and then you just, it's like a snowball. It just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm in disbelief when I was watching. If this were a boxing match, Buck, the corner would have thrown in the towel like 2 minutes in because they wouldn't have allowed it to go on.
It didn't even really register with a lot of people, I think, that Fetterman's also terrible on the substance and in a way that goes beyond just the partisan disagreements. He says things that aren't true. He says things that he didn't, or he says he didn't say things that he did. I mean, on the actual substance of the debate, when you could understand what he was saying, which was, intermittent at best, it wasn't a strong performance on that. But it doesn't even matter because you saw here that you have somebody who is not fit. We have the 25th Amendment for a reason. Isn't it fascinating how much the Democrats talked about the 25th Amendment under Donald Trump, who could go for 2 hours extemporaneously in a 60,000 person stadium and be funny and witty and say jokes and insightful stuff and, off script, the whole thing. They're talking about the 25th Amendment for that guy. And now they have got Joe Biden as president. They're putting John Fetterman forward to be the likely deciding vote or possible deciding vote in the United States Senate. Every single blue check, and there are a bunch of them, who in the last 2 weeks have been saying, Fetterman's fine, I talked to him. These are people who you can never trust on, not that our audience would anyway, but you can never trust them on any issue ever. They will lie in the most egregious way, in the most shameless way imaginable, because it is all about the power of the left, the power of the Democrat Party, and getting what they want. Nothing else matters. This is just the most scorched earth, immoral, political cynicism you could come up with, putting this guy forward. It's reckless.
All right, I want to play this last Fetterman clip. Again, these are representative of what he sounded like during the hour-long debate. And here he is talking about taxes. Listen.
Mr. Fetterman, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal. He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping two students 17 years ago to help them, buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
I mean, this is like Mad Libs. Like, do we have to fill in the words? What is he what the heck is he talking about?
I don't think he even answered the question that was asked in any way. Okay, so he was asked specifically about
his family
taxes.
helped him buy a house and they didn't pay the taxes on. Was that what is that what he was saying?
I don't even know what he was trying to say. Here are a couple of lines from the New York Times, which covered this as if it were a standard traditional debate, Buck. Fetterman was also fluent enough over the course of the hour to present his Democrat vision for a state that could determine control of the Senate. Moreover, Mr. Fetterman was able to reel off some made-for-TV one-liners, though he had difficulty going into greater depths over the course of full 1-minute answers. I went and I read and I thought to myself, if you've ever wondered what a totally biased media would look like, the reaction to this story would be is
I think this is good though. This is a clarifying moment because anybody who is able to discern, to think through, to use their powers of reason and to process information without being completely blinded by partisan affiliation understands that the New York Times is a bunch of commies. That
yes.
They do not care what reality is. They do not care what is true. They care about enhancing the narrative and spreading propaganda that benefits the political power of the left in America. That is it. There's nothing else. They may make common cause with normal Democrats on some things. They may make common cause with the occasional independent when it suits them. These people are radical leftists for whom the truth is just an impediment.
Philadelphia Inquirer, Buck, in addition to the New York Times, also said John Fetterman won the debate. I swear to God, this is from Will Bunch, who's the national columnist for the Philly Inquirer. He said, there were a few muddled answers. That said, the directness of Fetterman's support gave him won the debate.
He's a moron.
Fetterman, this is actually out there.
A moron. Total moron. I mean, that's the craziest thing. I mean, you've got to be kidding me.